I got a call from somebody who knew Money Van very well, and she said that guys got it wrong here. Nehru got one vote. The person who voted for Nehru was Sardar Patel. Can you believe that?
Most serious historians, especially partition historians, look at this as sort of a sensationalized history at best, otherwise kind of fiction.
But the lasting emotion that your show left me with was this line, "Log nafrat se himmat juta rahe hain." It feels frighteningly contemporary.
It's so obvious that a lot of what is happening today, the seeds were either sown at that point in time, or it's the same problems that we're grappling with today.
I actually had a book with notes where Mountbatten has said, no, this is not true, this is true, you should write it like this should be changed like this. I have a copy of that, yeah.
That is priceless. Like, you can retire on that book. Hi, welcome to my channel. Nikhil Advani, Revanta Sarabhai, Abhinandan Gupta.
Hello guys, hello. Hey Revanta, Abhinandan, long time.
Huh? You can say that about Abhinandan, you can't say that about me.
Yeah.
How many years have you all now spent together only working on Freedom at Midnight? Both the parts, season 1 and 2. How many years has it been?
I think 4 years.
Yeah, about 4 years now. 20.
Yeah.
22, at some point we were already into it.
Now, for the people who are watching, just so they are aware, Nikhil Advani, of course, is the big name on the show. You see him as the creator of the show, the director of the show. Abhinandan Gupta, you are credited as adapting the novel, and Revanta Sarabhai is one of the writers in the writing room. Did I get that right? Because there's so many
Abhinandan
people.
is actually the lead writer also. Yeah.
Abhinandan is the lead writer on the series as well. See, that's what I wanted to check.
I actually came in after Abhinandan had done most of the heavy lifting. And I think my role was more kind of.
It's a funny story. It's a funny story how Revanta Sarabhai is over here.
I am so curious how Revanta Sarabhai of the Sarabhais is here.
Because I tried to make sure that Revanta Sarabhai will make sure that his family will not interfere with Rocket Boys, the shooting, the story, the edit, the screenplay. So we got Revanta and we say, hey Revanta, why don't you come and work with us? You can work as an associate director on season 2 of Rocket Boys. And then the idiot turned out to be so good and so well read and so diligent and so incredibly creative that he's now heading content and development for my production company.
For MA?
Yeah.
Subhanallah.
Yeah.
Bhai, just so people know, okay, I have the family tree in front of me and I'm going to try and not mess it up, okay? Great-grandfather, Ambalal Sarabhai. Let's say the first of his name, the first popular one, industrialist, freedom fighter, close friend of Bapu himself. Grandfather, Vikram Sarabhai, the Vikram Sarabhai, father of the Indian space program. Grandmother, Mrinalini Sarabhai, sister of Lakshmi Sehgal of Subhash Chandra Bose Army. Grand aunt and grand uncle were Gautam and Gir Sarabhai, who co-founded NID. And Gira also happens to be one of the architects who helped design the Guggenheim, amongst other things around the world. What?
Yeah, she was a student of Frank Lloyd Wright. So.
And of course, your mother is Mallika Sarabhai, world-renowned dancer, performer, writer, politician, activist. Your uncle is Kartikeya Sarabhai. These are just the famous. How many Padma Shris and Padma Bhushans and Padma Vibhushans are in your family that you know of?
I try not to think about it, because it's like.
Holy
no
pressure!
The important thing for me is that his cousin is Shad Ali. That is the important thing for me.
You are related to
that was
Muzaffar
the
Ali
connection,
also.
No, that's how you came in.
Yeah, that's how I got them to agree to do Rocket Boys. Yeah.
My God. So, Revanta, you have come on board now. This is your first writing credit on something of this scale?
Yes.
Wow.
Yes.
Okay, lovely. The book itself, which I am so curious to read now, because after I watched your show, I read everything there is to read, at least on the internet, about Dominique Lapierre and Larry Collins. And they're like fascinating creatures unto themselves. There can be a whole show about the writing of Freedom at Midnight. Nikhil, how much did you know about the background of this book before deciding to work on it?
I love the book. I love what they've written, whether it is Paris Burning, whether it is O Jerusalem,
Right.
And they do this, right? They basically take, I mean, what I try to do with Mumbai Diaries, which is basically take an event and then build characters around it and whatever. That's how they do. And what some of it is real, some of it is possibly masala hai, thoda isko ye hai. But the events that are unfolding are indisputable, right? In the case of Freedom at Midnight, I had read it when I was very young. It is possibly a book on my father's bookshelf, and it's incredible. It actually chronicles history and the partition and pre and post partition beautifully. But at the same time, it really evokes huge amount of emotion in you. That at times when you're reading the book, also you get choked. It's only afterwards that when we started working, did we start getting into how did he go about it? That the whole aspect that it is still a Western gaze, and it's actually
Yeah.
two white men who have written this book about the independence of India, and as the story goes, Sucharita is that basically Dicky called them and said, "Hello, how are you not writing about how I gave up the transition the British to India
Yeah.
to the so Dicky was all full of himself. He was quite pompous. He used to love all the medals and all that kind of stuff, which we've actually dealt with in season one. And apparently he called them up and he said that, listen, why don't you write about this? It's possibly a big event. If there's any event in the last 50 years that you can write about, it is this. And they said, but listen, who do we interview? Has passed away, and Gandhi has passed away, and Sardar Patel has passed away, Jinnah has passed away. So he said, I have everything. Right. So he put his hands up, he opened up his, because they would chronicle every single meeting, every single moment was put in his diaries. So apparently he had like a library in his basement of just his diaries, which he opened up to these guys somewhere, and he said, hello, write everything. But I think that they did Revanta did a couple of trips to India, right? And they interviewed, they
Yeah,
had
yeah,
gone
yeah.
and yeah.
They did some
That's
trips to
what.
India. In fact, one of the major locations that we've shot at is the Baradari Palace Hotel in Patiala. And like all of what you see as Birla House was shot there. While
Ah.
we were shooting there, the owner of the hotel, Amarnath, had some stories of when the Lapierres had visited and were traveling around interviewing people and all of that. So
And not just Mountbatten, they uh, straight up spoke with Madanlal Pava and Karkare and
Gopal
Gopal
Godse, yeah.
Godse as well.
Godse took them around
Yes, what?
Birla House and showed them. Yeah, yeah.
yeah, it showed them exactly how they had plotted what and all that.
Oh my God,
Yeah.
I read that story yesterday of Dominique Lapierre giving this press conference on the record saying, I went back to India to research this book, and Gopal Godse himself took me to Birla House and we recreated the scene. So you were a fan of the book, Nikhil. So did this idea originate with you, or were there a group of people?
Danish and Shogato. Danish and Shogato are equally big fans of Freedom at Midnight. It's part of the funny thing is that I actually, a friend of mine, a very good friend of mine who lived in London knew I was a big fan of the book. And there is a book fair which happens on Hayes on Wye. There's a book fair. There's a lovely village which is in the Cotswolds in the UK, where you can actually drive through the village and you can leave a book on a shelf which is outside the door of each of these houses, or you can pick up the book and you can exchange books. You can do all these kind of things at Hayes on Wye. And he went with his wife over there and he picked up a book, a copy of Freedom at Midnight, which had the handwritten notes by the ADC of Louis Mountbatten. So I actually had a book with notes where he was actually like a draft copy where Mountbatten has said, no, this is not true. This is true. You should write it like this. This should be changed like this. I have a copy of that. Yeah.
That is priceless. Like, you can retire on that book if you want to sell it at Sotheby's. Like, literally, done.
कभी सोचा भी है किस किस चीज का बंटवारा होगा
Abhinandan, this show is not shying away from throwing people right into the turmoil right from episode 1, right? The title, I think, of chapter 1 is Borders of Blood, if I'm
Yeah.
recalling it correctly, right?
Yeah.
Why? So it is overwhelming right at the start. You know where season one ended. Partitions are around the corner, which means Gandhi's assassination is around the corner. You did not want to ease the viewer into the experience. You just wanted to throw them into the deep end.
So I think we kind of did that already with season one. I mean, season one is really a whole build up to the climax of season two. So the world building and everything we'd already taken on in season one. And as far as we were concerned, we were very clear that we don't want it to be a slow and beautiful history piece like a Merchant Ivory production. We wanted to make the storytelling as engaging as possible and really treat it like a political thriller and not really sort of bogged down by the weight or the stature of the characters involved or of the incidents shown. So that was very much the intention, that we sort of get going from the word go and we sort of thrust the audience into really the heart of the action. And we already had season one where we built up as a chamber drama to explain the context of the events. And season two was just about the consequences. If season one were the causes of partition, season two were the consequences. So we were into the consequences from the very first episode.
But is it also intentional to arouse a sense of anger also at the Indian leadership in those early episodes where Mountbatten is sort of doing what he's doing and he's giving them 4 months to carry out this enormous operation, and there's not a whole lot of pushback. In fact, in so many sequences, you see early Indian leadership just sort of agreeing to things which you're like, no, don't agree to that. Stop. Was that also an intention behind drafting those early episodes?
See, hindsight is great because in hindsight, one can say a lot of things as to, you shouldn't have done that or you should have done that. But one has to put it in context that this was an exceptional time. The British decolonization and the British leaving India that event does not happen again and again. So it was an event which had no precedent. It is an event which which nothing like that has happened before, where a regime is handing it over to another regime. At least in our lifetimes, I don't think we're going to see something like that.
Or since, yeah.
So it was an exceptional time, and I think our task was really to understand why people made the choices that they did and under what circumstances. And to answer your question, a lot of times, it's not that the Indian leadership were in a position of authority to decide what they can do or cannot do, because they were still subjects of colonial rule. The British hadn't left yet. So before the transfer of power takes place, you're really just responding to British policy. So, it was not, the intention was not to elicit anger that, oh, this is what they did wrong or this is what they're right. It was to understand why they did what they did and in the context that they operated in, which is very different from the context that we are in today.
I know, right? And that's why I don't know, like you guys saw the live stream that I did. Episode 6, I was just bawling and I was like, I know everything that's about to happen. I know, why am I crying? Why is this hitting me so much? Because we're watching it in 2025 with the context that we know about the way things are right now. One thing that is missing from the narrative, and any one of you may answer this, Nikhil, I'll start with you, is the women of the freedom struggle of India. Now, is that something that's just missing in the book? You see Sarojini Naidu, but you don't really... she doesn't do anything. Is that missing in the book? Like, at one point when Jawahar says that I'm going to contact the United Nations and they're having the discussion, like, great, so Vijay Lakshmi Pandit at least is going to get mentioned and we'll hear a little bit about that. That does not happen. Why is that?
Because they are missing in the book. And they were missing then also. It's not as if that they were definitely missing from the rooms in which these decisions were being taken, right? In the sense that we have a line in the first season, remember, where Sarojini says, "Ki I'm only there to recite poetry. What else? What else am I supposed to do? What else? People call me Nightingale of India. I'm there only to recite poetry or whatever, right?" Fatima Jinnah actually in the book does not exist, right? She does not exist. We needed a character so that we could voice what Jinnah is thinking,
his thoughts, yeah,
and what Jinnah is expressing. So in the book, she's very fleeting in the book. It is actually from Abhinandan's earlier versions of the Jinnah story that he was writing that he already knew so much about Fatima in this. But otherwise, I mean, Revanta, correct me if I'm wrong. Is in the book very yeah. So Edwina is very, very, very present
Of
in the
course.
book.
Yeah.
And what happens is post 15th of August, even Mountbatten and Edwina cease to have the same kind of importance in the rooms where these decisions were being taken,
Of
because now
course.
they had transferred the power, right? So as a result of which, it just, even in the book now, Sucharita turns towards Gandhi's assassination. So half of the book is about exactly what we have shown in season one, which is that by July 3rd, we have decided we have to give in. We are not going to listen to Gandhi, and Jinnah is not going to be made the prime minister. We are going बंटवारा होने वाला है. Now, अभी बंटवारा कैसे होने वाला है? And therefore, Sardar also has that line. It's not about बंटवारा. We have to think about what everything that is going to
What's
happen
going to
after
happen
बंटवारा
after?
is going to happen. And so the book also suddenly from 50% just shifts to Gandhi, because that's when, like we discussed in the beginning of this conversation, Dominique Lapierre got all the information about what happened with Gandhi's assassination, who was there, what happened on the 20th of January, what happened between the 20th of January, where there was one more attempt. They actually went one more time. They actually reached at the back of Gandhi's head. They almost shot him. The guy fell through a charpai, did not manage to hit this thing. One guy saw a man with a one eye, said it's a bad omen. All that we did not show because we just felt it's too much. Let's go straight to 30th. So yeah, so the women really, I mean, I think, yeah, it's sad,
Even
but the women are not
Sarojini
there
is
in the
very
book.
fleetingly mentioned. Even Sarojini is very fleetingly mentioned in the book. We just we gave her more to do because we also wanted some women in the show. So, but the book is really doesn't really talk about the women that much.
Excellent casting with Sarojini, though. Malishka looks just the part. And we will come to casting. I have very strong feelings, as you guys might be aware, about the cast of this show. Oh my God, I'm obsessed with Siddhant Gupta. Obsessed. But, Revanta, as I was reading older interviews, Dominique Lapierre asserted that he's a historian, that he's not a journalist, that he's not making this up as he goes. But like Nikhil mentioned, it is at the end of the day a Western gaze. It is coming from the horse's mouth being Mountbatten. It is two white men, one of whom is French. And they sort of made a career of writing about strife in nations. I do not know how I feel about O Jerusalem and where the politics of that book lie. I don't think I particularly will like that book when I get around to reading it. So when you were working in this writer's room, creating these scenes, creating these moments, writing these dialogue, did you have that trepidation कि ये झूठ तो नहीं बोल रहे हैं कहीं पे बोला तो, like, how do we believe all of this?
I approached the project because I told you, right? I kind of came in a little bit at a stage when Abhinandan had already done the heavy lifting of doing the adaptation and writing the show Bible. So I thought, why don't I read this first and then go back to the book to kind of verify and, like do it kind of retrospectively. And at that point, Nikhil and I had also talked about bringing a historian on board to help, check things and verify things. Very few serious historians take this book seriously, and that's just how it is, right? I mean, most serious historians, especially partition historians, look at this as sort of a sensationalized history at best, otherwise kind of fiction. And so for us, there was this sort of double-edged sword where we wanted to stay true to the source material, but we also wanted to make sure that we're staying true to history. So there was a lot of cross-referencing. There was a lot of going and looking at other sources to kind of make sure that, what Mountbatten has said about a certain event did actually happen, and whether it happened in the way that it happened. So we did do, and we had like an army of researchers that worked along with the writing team that kind of helped with all of this. But yeah, that is just
and
the
whenever
nature
we
of the
felt
book.
that, listen, this seems to be too simple or too simplistic rather, right? It was always that, okay, let's get another source. Let's figure out what, it's an interesting thing. The first drop, Sucharita, of the show was where Gandhi basically gives the president
Prime
of the Congress
Ministership
to
to
Nehru, to prime ministership to Nehru from Sardar Patel, and I met somebody who was very close to Moneybank. And and we decided to put that drop out because we just felt that everybody has already been talking about this, and it's so vocal on the internet that Danish felt that let's just put it out there so people know that we're going to talk about the
address
uncomfortable
it
things
head on,
also,
kind of.
and
Yeah.
address it head on so that they don't get distracted from everything else that we are going to be talking about. Put it
Amazing.
right up there in the front. So we put it out. And I got a call from somebody who knew Moneyvan very well, and she said that you guys got it wrong. It was not unanimous. It was not unanimous that nobody that Sardar got all the votes and Nehru got none. Nehru got one vote. The person who voted for Nehru was Sardar Patel. Can you believe that? And if I knew that, I said I would have put that into the show. Because Sardar Patel already knew that he was dying. He had had two heart attacks, so he was the one who basically said, and Gandhi always said that one will run the country and one will lead the country. The prime minister's job is to lead the country. The home minister's job is to run the country. So he said, "This is it. This is going to be the two bullock carts joined at the government yoke."
Yeah. As a film critic and a journalist, my job is to not get emotional when talking to the filmmakers, but I feel like I'm going to start crying again. Just thinking of the intention and the execution and the brotherhood and the civility and the humane, everything.
Yeah, civility is a very big word. It's a fantastic word, right? Because at the end of the day, you can dissent, you can disagree. They are fighting with each other. By the sixth episode, Nehru and Patel are unable to see eye to eye on anything.
Yeah.
Patel is
They're
actually saying
civil.
it's not about walking in differently. It's about walking different directions altogether. But they still respected each other, right? They still had
Which
civility with
just
each other.
feels like such a radical idea right now. How can I
Yeah.
respect somebody I don't agree with? Oof, it's what has happened? Anyway, Nikhil, one filmmaking question to you. Now, to use archival footage, and we discussed this as well, along with dramatized scenes, not just footage, mixing Nehru's voice with Siddhant Gupta's voice is such a swing, like I said. How did you decide that you were going to do that? Because it sort of does threaten to pull you out of the experience, but it doesn't because you're so invested in it already. I don't know how you managed to do it. How did you do that? How did you manage to do that? Why did you do that?
Why is the question and the answer is why is Abhinandan used to just write big sequences, of Dakota plane landing and the Mountbattens getting out of the plane and all that kind of stuff. So obviously we could get the costume right because we had the money for the costume. I had no money for the Dakota plane, right? At the end of the day, in the sense that so I had to look at, okay, what is the footage available, right? How we could do it. Shweta Venkat. That is the straight of answer that you need to. I mean, you should interview her, right? She's an incredible editor. What she has done with it is incredible from the point of view. So Siddhant Gupta, who you love, gave a single take for the Tryst with Destiny speech. One take. He had been psyching himself up for 3-4 months. When are we going to do it? When are we going to do it? When are we going to do it?
So good.
And I, I, I remember I did not tell him till he finished the one take that I might bring in the real Nehru voice, and he was heartbroken. I can't. What will happen? This and that. So Shweta Venkat is that answer because this particular time, from the time that Clement Attlee came to power, he had said he came to power saying that we are going to decolonize, we are going to leave, we are going to leave, we are going to leave, and then he was forced to give a date, it was June 1948. By that time, everybody was already, all the top BBC, all the media outlets, all Henry Cartier-Bresson, Margaret Burke-White, everybody was already in India, and they were chronicling, they were shooting. If I could bring another female character into Freedom at Midnight, it would have been her. She's the first female photojournalist who has covered every possible event, and her greatest her greatest regret was that on the day that she was going to shoot Gandhi on the 30th of January, she got a call from her husband to go back home. So she wasn't there, right? So we found out all these stories later on, but the footage existed, the photographs existed. Obviously, a lot of it is very expensive. Pathé, BBC archives are very expensive. We are lucky that films division had similar kind of footage. You have to understand also, Sucharita, these were colossal men who already knew that they were going to become some kind of big shit in history, right?
Yeah.
So they were allowing themselves to get papped,
Yeah.
right? So Jinnah wanted to get chronicled. Nehru wanted to get this thing. So there was a lot of footage, Maulana Azad and a lot of the footage we have is wearing some John Lennon kind of glasses there, shades, and he's looking very, very cool.
I mean, all of them went abroad to study. All of them came back with that Western idea of not just life, but fashion and food and style and talking and English. Episode 5, Abhinandan, creating that. The most nervous watching that episode. It starts with this beautiful cinematic shot of bird's eye view of Kashmir.
Zojila Pass, yeah.
Kamala Nehru and Jawaharlal Nehru walking, surrounded by one bodyguard here, one bodyguard there. It's so sweet. And then that episode sort of breaks your heart. You see all the things that are just going wrong, one after other, one after other, one after other. Talk to me about the care with which you drafted this episode.
The Kashmir episode, right?
Yeah.
I think when we were writing it, we just really wanted to write it like a war film, like an episode within a series, but which sort of works like a war film. So
I see.
You had all these sequences of the raiders attacking, which is intercut with the war room in New Delhi, where all the leaders are discussing how do we deal with it, which is intercut with Maharaja Hari Singh, who's told his ADC that shoot me in the morning if help doesn't arrive, and
Now,
the raiders take over.
is that embellishment with the gun on his head and the planes coming in that same moment?
It's recorded.
It's there.
Same
in the book.
moment.
Recorded history.
Yeah.
Then he had told his ADC that if help doesn't arrive by tomorrow and if the invaders take over Kashmir, then shoot me.
If they
Yeah,
enter
I don't want to
Srinagar,
wake up in that
invaders enter Srinagar.
Yeah.
So the planes arrived at the very moment that it was like dawn of the morning of, like, this is very Sandese aate hain.
Nick of time.
The Amitabh Bachchan line now, there Sardar has like a Bachchan kind of line ना अगर मुझे अपने हाथों से
अपने हाथों से सड़क बनानी पड़े तो मैं बना दूंगा, आपको अपनी सड़क मिल जाएगी.
That's a full on line, yeah. That's like a, Divi just excelled at that line.
Yes, Abhinandan.
So we approached it like a war film where we wanted to make it as thrilling as possible, where, really in the nick of time, the enemy's approaching, it's at the gates, and, how do you defend? There was one airstrip in Srinagar where our troops had to really land. There was no land route to the valley because all the land routes had gone to the Pakistani side. The land routes were from Rawalpindi, and that side of Punjab was connected to Kashmir. But they really had to build a road motorable for the heavy tanks to roll in overnight from Gurdaspur in the Indian Punjab up to Jammu and all the way to Srinagar. We thought that this is really tense and it's really sort of, edge of the seat kind of a war thriller, war action set piece. But as far as the politics is concerned, if you're referring to how did we, craft that with so much care, I think we stuck to what was there in the book. We didn't want to be confrontational. We didn't want to be combative. We didn't want to sensationalize anything. The sequence of events is pretty much what is mentioned in the book. And I think the only thing that we sort of underlined was how Nehru kind of lost a little bit of objectivity when it came to his homeland. Because he was, he's an ethnic Kashmiri. Though he didn't grow up in Kashmir, he grew up in Allahabad and UP. But I think Kashmir to him symbolized kind of a romanticized idea of home, and I think that was also the thematic key, that what is home, and what do you think is your home? Does it exist in your imagination, or is it a physical reality that exists in geography? So that, along with trying to get a really thrilling episode out of it, is how we approached it.
I mean, if you had sensationalized this, Revanta's family would have disowned him. If you had sensationalized this episode, like, out, shakal mat dikhana. Naak katwa di. Nahi, but it also, I bet it helps that the actor portraying Nehru also is from Jammu, right? Siddhant?
Yeah.
Did I read that
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that's
Uh,
correct.
Towards the end of the book and the end of the show, you approach the moment of the assassination. You tread very carefully. You're soft about it. There's no chest thumping, there's no yelling, there's no dramatic outburst. It's very soft, it's very humane. And you never hear the name of the assassin. You don't even read the name of the assassin. You only see initials, if I'm not mistaken. Why? Why did we make that decision? Any one of you. Nikhil, if you want to take that.
Yeah, because my idea, I mean, I think our collectively our endeavor was to transport the audience into the rooms, in the middle of the riots, in the middle of the train where the attack happens, through the exodus. So we are transporting everybody. We are making them sit in the same bus as Madan Lal Pawa, taking them into the hospital where he meets his father, everything. The seventh episode of Freedom at Midnight unfolds through the eyes of Madan Lal Pawa's interrogation, through the Home Ministry's endeavor to try and get as much security as possible into Gandhi, where they feel that there's possibly there has been a slip up, and through DIG DW Mehra's own guilt, as well as so it's unraveling through these three people, and none of these three people knew anything about the six men in Marina Hotel. They had no clue about what their names were. They had no clue what they looked like. When Pawa gave, even in the book, when Pawa gave the description, he gave the description of Kirkire. He called him Kirkire. He did not call him Karkare. As a result, when the CID in Bombay went to Pune to look for Kirkire, they could not find any Kirkire over there. So they thought that maybe this person at Pawa is not giving the right name. When they went to Marina Hotel, they found a banyan which said NVG. So the idea was that for most of the people who were involved in trying to find out if there is going to be another attempt, for them, this Nathuram Godse was a ghost. He was faceless. He did not exist. They had no clue whether he existed. For even them, they had also gone back and they had come back to Pune or Bombay, if I forget, and then they came back to Delhi, right, in that 10-day period. So it was very important for us to two things, Sucharita. One, that it was very important for us to make sure that we don't suddenly come out for the seventh episode, because we today know that it is this person who assassinated Mahatma Gandhi. They did not know, the characters did not know, just like Nehru did not know, have all the information about partition and about the refugee camps and about, or Jinnah did not know. Even D.W. Mehra or Sardar Patel or Madan Lal Pawa did not know. So we just wanted to keep that. And secondly, I was very clear. I don't want to give my show a platform for having a discussion on. We all know who shot Mahatma Gandhi. That's irrefutable. Why should I?
The lasting, and I have to wrap up now because that's all the time I have with you, gentlemen, today. But my lasting emotion of finishing the series over a period of, I think I took like 5 full days, which is not normal for a film critic because we watch everything sort of smushed together. But I paced it out because I was just reading after every episode like a crazy person. But the lasting emotion that your show left me with was this line, "Log nafrat se himmat juta rahe hain." It feels frighteningly contemporary. Abhinandan, when creating this, did you allow or even think about any present day resonance to guide you in the process? Or was that not a thought? It just so happens that viewers like me are finding parallels and resonance in the present day.
No, I mean, of course, there is, you cannot not factor in the present when you're dealing with this chapter in history, especially because it's so obvious that a lot of what is happening today, the seeds were either sown at that point in time, or it's the same problems that we're grappling with today, or those same conflicts or very fundamental fissures in our society have not really been resolved. So how can one not factor in the present? Because I mean, the past is there with us in the present today. That past has not been resolved yet. So, of course, yes, we were mindful of it, but I think the idea was also not to look at the past from today's lens. That is something that we were very
Two
conscious
different
of. That,
things.
we don't have to see the past from today's lens, but at the same time, we have to understand that the past and the present are a continuum. They are not isolated, and they're not sort of, watertight categories where one doesn't affect the other.
I mean,
Well,
we were
that
also very aware of the context in which we were making the show and the present time context in which it's going to be viewed, right? I mean, it's hard to kind of completely cut off from that. So,
well,
of course,
so
there was
many
an
filmmakers
awareness.
do cut off from that. So I'm glad that y'all decided not to cut off from that, because that is the bane of at least my existence, to remind people that you cannot cut off from present day context, whatever you're watching, whether it is historical or futuristic. It could be freaking Star Wars, but you have
No,
to.
there's a, Sucharita, I run the cinema house program at
Yeah,
G5A,
yeah,
and
yeah.
we showed a film called Garam Hawa, MS Sattu's
Yes.
film Garam Hawa, and we had a great panel, Shama Zaidi and Shabana Azmi and Javed Akhtar and all of them at the panel. And it's a long film, and so we did between the panel we did a loo break, and Javed Saab came onto stage, and he said that a lot of people met him just standing outside the loo and said that it's so relevant. This film is so relevant. This film is so relevant even today. And he said that I don't think that's a celebration. I think that's a tragedy. And
Why would.
that actually just so
No, sorry.
yeah.
Why would you make a film that is going to be irrelevant in the future? You always want to make a film that's going to be relevant, but from the relevance of it, have we learned anything from the relevance? Have we understood anything? Have we thought about it through a critical lens beyond the glitz and the glamour, which is also why I implore people to watch Freedom at Midnight, खासतौर पे season 2, क्योंकि there is no glamour to it. There's no massive movie stars. There is no remixed songs. There is no warmongering. It is just something that is trying to speak to you, and I would highly request and recommend that you allow it to speak to you. Gentlemen, thank you for speaking with
Thank
me
you
today.
so much.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you for having us.
Thank you, Sucharita.
ज्यादा इमोशनल हो गई मैं, बट प्लीज आप अपनी कास्ट को बोल दीजिए कि ये जरा टाइम निकाल ले, मेरे को बहुत अच्छा लगेगा अगर हम बात कर पाए तो सारे एक साथ.
I'll do that. We'll sort it out.
Thank you guys. Bye.
Thanks.
Bye.
Thanks.